It's time for the big show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andy Gallo.
And I'm Country Jim.
And welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you along with us. And we have got one of the guys that I listened to back in the 70s when I was in high school. Along with him and Johnny Bush, I guess I wore out more 8-track tapes than I can think of. And this is Tony Booth. Tony, glad to have you with us, man.
Yes,
Appreciate it, Andy and Jim. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're just when Jim told us that we were you were gonna come down, man. I'm nervous now. You know what I mean? Because this is another story that we could put in our What Country Stars Have We Met? So see, we could do a new one now. I said, well, I met Tony Booth here. Yeah. So anyway, so how does you grew up in Florida?
Yeah.
So how does a boy in Florida wind up in California playing the Bakersfield Sound with Buck Owens and Wynn Stewart and all of those guys?
We left Florida because my mother had health issues and the humidity was killing her. So they advised her to move to a dry climate. So it was like a choice between New Mexico and Arizona. And New Mexico was closer than Arizona. There wasn't no freeways back then,
right,
in the 50s. So that's how we wound up in New Mexico. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. And then we moved back to Florida, and I started when I was in like 6th grade, and I graduated high school there. Then we left again and went back to New Mexico. And by that time, I had a stepdad, and he was a steel guitar player. And I was actually going to the University of New Mexico studying to be a music teacher. And one day I saw the pay scale for a music teacher. Oh, man. So, and I was starving to death, had to hitch a ride because we lived outside of Albuquerque. So I wound up, my stepdad, talked me into going out with him. And I was kind of bashful. I mean, I wasn't really geared to be an entertainer, I'd sing it to get the girls in high school and stuff. But anyway, so I overcome my fear, and I started playing music, and I just left the university. I never even withdrew. I just never went back. And that kind of set me on the path to what I'm doing now. And I've never went a week without work in 60 years. Last month was my 60th year in the music.
So when you made it to California, though, and you signed with Capitol,
right,
how did that all come about?
Well, I left Albuquerque where I was playing, and because I had a job offer in Montana, which was actually a cut and pay, but I'd never been to Montana, so I wanted to see it. And when I got up there, the guy the band leader, Jimmy Snyder, had roots in California. And so we didn't stay long until he wanted to get back out there and where the action was. So we wound up in a club in Sacramento. And one of Buck Owens' reps come out to the club. His name was Dusty Rhodes, and he come out to hear Jimmy because Jimmy was a fabulous singer. But he could sing anything from Roy Acuff to Johnny Mathis, and did. But he happened to be doing Johnny Mathis and that Tony Bennett and stuff the night that Dusty walked in, and I was singing Ray Price and Buck Owens and stuff. Yeah. So he took a liking to me, and we laid down a couple of tracks, and Buck listened to him, and he said, let's sign him up. That's how that got going. It's like I hit the lottery,
Really?
You never know. I mean, you can dream about something happening, but when it actually does, it's hard to believe.
And you spent how many years out there?
Oh, I didn't. I left, come to Texas in 1980. I left Christmas Day. Those things was just kind of drying up. And Buck's popularity was going down, so it affected everybody that was with him. It's something to make the disc jockeys mad. I don't know what, but it's a funny business, music business. And country music was still alive and well in Texas. And I went to work. Actually, the reason I came to Texas was because I auditioned for the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and got the job. So I was the narrator and the bass player, and I did that for 2.5 years.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And that was, you talk about a unique experience. I mean, I've never been around any kind of Broadway type people at all, and they are a different breed. And here I was dipping snuff and stuff. And they thought I was an animal.
And you came from the land of the fruits and nuts,
Yes,
you know, and so that was
absolutely.
really different.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So,
But that Bakersfield crowd was really not so. They were more Oklahoma-ish
yeah,
than they were California.
absolutely. Yeah. And it was all the Okie migration. During the
Did
Depression.
you? And now you met all of those guys. Win Stewart.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed on your discography that "Wishful Thinking" was one of your early
right.
recordings. It's a
Well,
great
saw that.
song.
I saw that too, and I'm thinking, man, you know, that's
Well, my first album
so.
that I cut was produced by Cliffy Stone, who was a legend out there. And the album was called Country 67. And it was, we did it in 1968. It was all the big hits and stuff from the year before. So I think Wishful Thinking was one of those. And, but he changed my name for that record to Johnny Booth because Tony sounded too ethnic for a country singer. That's right. Yeah.
That is funny.
So, yeah, but that was the one and only that I did under the name of Johnny Booth.
So I know you've recorded some of the songs I remember you from was Cinderella
Right.
to me was a huge hit. I know it went to I think 45 on the Billboard, but I think Cashbox did better.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
It always did, yeah.
Yeah, Cashbox was always better for a lot of people back in
yeah.
those days.
Right.
Because I know Keys to the Mailbox was number one on Cashbox.
And it went to about, I don't know, top 5.
15. I think it was like 15
Was
on
it?
Billboard. But
Yeah.
Billboard was, still
Well,
is. It's very different now
it is,
than what
yeah.
it was. But as far as those songs, that kind of genre of songs that you did back then, which one is probably your favorite?
It's hard to say. I mean, I left all that up to Buck. You know, he basically picked the songs because I wasn't a songwriter.
Okay.
And he just had a knack for doing that. And I didn't, if it left to my own devices, I probably never would have recorded any of those. But looking back on it, 50-something years later, those songs are still played today.
Right. They're
in
still
all these little honky
they tend
Exactly how many times have you sung "Keys in the Mailbox"?
I can't even imagine.
I got a funny story. Of course, I'm a big country classic fan. I've got an old iPod that's full of nothing but Johnny Bush, Tony Booth, Ray Price, you name it.
Yeah.
So we're riding along in the car. My kids are little at that time. This is back in early 2000s. And Keys in the Mailbox comes on. Well, they're singing along with it, but they think you're singing The Kids Are in the Mailbox.
Oh, man.
This is a true story. And so they're singing that, and I'm going, what are y'all singing? The Kids in the Mailbox. I said, no. It's The Keys Are in the Mailbox. You know,
Who wrote that song?
It was fun.
Harlan Howard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song.
It is. It's a great song.
You know, that's been, I guess, I think Buck did that before you did. Is that right? Or
Well,
After him,
if he did, I don't know that, but I know that he recorded it years later.
Okay. Yeah, for him it was not. I didn't see a chart number, so I don't
Right.
think it showed up on the
No, I
charts.
think-
It's just that it was an album thing that he
Right.
did to fill some space
Connie
there.
Smith recorded it. I mean,
Yeah,
a
yeah, I
bunch
saw
of people
that.
did.
Yeah.
So really, it wasn't. I mean, I know Freddie Hart did it in the '60s.
Yeah.
But that was Buck finding that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also picked Lonesome 77203.
Yeah.
And then Cinderella now was more of a regional thing.
Yeah.
One, Doyle Holly, which was his bass player
Right.
at the time,
Yep.
I think might have had the first record on that. But the others were big hits, you know, and number
Yeah.
one for Hawkshaw Hawkins. You know,
Oh
Lonesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like I was telling Jim, the country music audience by the time I come along in the 70s was a lot bigger than in the 50s and 60s. So I actually sold more records than those guys.
Yeah.
Did he find "Sweethearts in Heaven"? Where'd that come
Well,
from?
Buck wrote that one.
Oh, that's right.
This is a funny thing about Buck. You know, he's such a shrewd businessman. And he had a publishing company, and he was not only a writer himself, but he had writers. So everybody that worked for Buck recorded those same songs. Susan Ray and Buddy Allen, you know, Bakersfield Brass. And the one thing that really woke me up was I was invited to do Buck's Bash one year. It's a thing they do every year in Austin. Continental Club honoring Buck's birthday, and the idea is you sing Buck Owens songs all night long.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my invitation, and I said, okay, sure. And the problem was there was 57 people that had already signed up. So that's 114 songs off the list. Well, I had a half writers on a song called Down at the Corner Bar.
Yeah.
And I found out that he recorded it, and I had no idea. So that was one of my songs. So, but Buck got the most mileage out of the publishing and the writers. So, and I didn't realize, I mean, the one that Vince Gill did on Bakersfield, He Don't Deserve You Anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Buck recorded that. I thought I was the only one that had ever done it. But no.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like Buck also recorded a lot of the Wynn Stewart stuff
yeah.
because he probably wrote
Probably.
like Playboy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mr.
just
Playboy.
like Freddie Hardy.
Yeah.
A lot of Freddie's stuff.
Yeah,
too,
yeah. So I guess, I mean, he wrote it, so heck, by golly.
I was on that show several years, and others would jump in there immediately when the invitations would go out and get the songs that you really.
Right.
And of course, I didn't have your situation because I didn't have a hit on any of them. But I went to he recorded a Harlan Howard album. And so I was already doing, for decades, I've been doing Pick Me Up on Your Way Down.
Right.
So I picked that one, and then Sweethearts in Heaven, and I did that one several years in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else went after. But was Sweethearts in Heaven on the? No, you say he wrote it.
Yeah, but I did record it.
Yes.
But, funny.
And you do it on your shows now, don't you?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people. I do it, for people that been married forever and, they're actual sweethearts, instead of today's divorce rate. But
You remember what you was fixing to say?
Yeah. What you said reminded me of a thing I did. We did a tribute to Johnny Bush, after he passed. And so two of his best friends, Ransom Norton, who's one of our label guys, a young guy, and Justin Trevino, and then Bobby Flores was playing fiddle. Well, between those three guys, they wasn't going to be nothing left for me to do, right? So I got up the brainstorm of going on and looking up Bush's discography, and I did all the songs that he covered of other artists.
Yeah, there you go.
And I knew most of them already.
Yeah.
So I legitimately did a song that Johnny Bush recorded. It just wasn't one you was expecting.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty good thinking there, Jim.
Yeah. It cries out to say some things about you in the early 70s and the success you had.
Yeah.
You were nominated for CMA Male Vocalist of the Year.
It was ACM.
ACM,
the West Coast version.
Oh, the West Coast
They
version.
started that because the CMA wouldn't recognize any West
Right.
Coast artists. I
Right.
mean, even Buck or Merle.
Yeah, no, they
For
wouldn't.
years.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Until
So
they-
who
they-
else
so-
was nominated?
Oh, it was like, I can't remember now, like Conway Twitty and Ray Price and
You couldn't
Merle
beat those.
Haggard. I mean,
You couldn't beat those guys.
no. Charlie Rich, I think, was one of them too. I mean, they was all the biggies,
Oh, wow.
I was honored just to be nominated.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But then
That's great.
3 years you were non-touring artist. What was that?
That was for the band,
Yeah.
non-touring band. And I also won Most Promising Male Vocalist, I think, 71. So I had a bunch of them statue trophies, hat trophies.
When you were touring, what was your band's name?
It was just the Tony Booth band.
It was just the Tony Booth band.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was a lot of things you could play off on that, being Booth.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, the reason I did that is because when I was playing with Jimmy Snyder, and our band was, and we was at the Palomino Club at that one time, and it called the band the Country Squires. Well, that people that don't like country music, then they're triggered just by seeing the country. So I don't want them to know what we do. Walk in and see if
Right.
they like us.
Right.
Don't judge before you ever walk in the door.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Correct.
It is a good idea.
Why don't you talk about? Get back to family a little bit, right? A little bit about. I mean, I've got this thing about fiddle and steel,
Right.
and steel players.
Oh.
Your stepdad, did he play with touring bands? Or?
Yeah, he is from Connecticut. Had that Yankee accent, but He played with Wilma Lee and Stoney Cooper back when they was just getting started.
Wow.
And
see, I may have seen them because I'm from
you
back
probably
east.
knew him. I mean, he lived in Houston forever. Don Barr. Everybody knew Don.
Yeah.
I mean, the friendliest guy you ever met in your life, you know. You didn't work with him. You probably knew of his name. But
I did, yeah. But I used to, back when I lived back east, I saw them live in West Virginia one time. Wilma Lee and Stoney.
I don't know what years he worked with them. I think he was pretty young, though.
Talk to me about your brother Larry,
Yeah.
your sister. Were they in music? Well, of course, Larry.
Larry was my brother.
Yeah,
He played
Larry,
with me, of course, but he played with Mel Tillis. And
he had some in the I
he
want to say
had
the
some
early
records.
'80s. Because I remember playing some stuff.
Yeah, he did on,
that he had out. Yeah.
what was that record out of Nashville? The One Stop, or Step One.
Yeah, that may
I
have been
think
it.
like Curtis Potter and some of them
Yeah.
guys. Johnny Bush was on that label.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
I was a big Gene Watson fan. I'm segueing. Here.
Right,
I
right.
was a big Gene Watson fan.
Oh yeah.
And one of my
Who
favorite
isn't?
projects was the one that had Little by Little on it.
Uh-huh.
Little by Little, we're losing it all.
Right.
And the second song on that CD was that song written by Larry about when I come home.
Yeah. Memories of You.
Memories of You. Yeah.
When I'm going through my memories.
Yeah.
And Ralph Emery picked that song. He said, "This should be your next single." But Gene caved in and recorded or released something about memories too.
Memories to Burn.
Yeah, Memories to
Memories to
Burn
Burn. Yeah,
instead
okay.
of
Yeah,
Memories of You. So
Yeah.
I think the other one was the flip side of the B
Was it?
side.
Okay.
So we're traveling through the decades in warp speed here.
Something, something that Country Jim loves to do. He loves to travel through the decades here. So
Well, we talked about this on the way over here, and
Yeah.
basically our future's behind us.
So because Gene lived in Kingwood and you came back to Texas, that's kind of how the opportunity to go on the road with Gene, play bass.
Right. It was kind of set up in advance. My brother was going to take over as Gene's manager and leave the band.
He'd been playing bass.
Right. And then so, this was kind of a weird deal. I mean, you'd think two brothers would have enough sense to play a different instrument so that they could work together. And this like Larry and Larry. So, or Daryl and Daryl or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Dumb and Dumber.
yeah.
But I thought I saw a video one time of Gene with you on rhythm guitar.
It's tic-tac bass.
Tic-tac bass,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And for about a month, I was playing the song in the wrong key and didn't even know it because it don't really make a note. It just makes the noise. You know? Right.
That's awesome.
So, what, do you play anything else but bass?
I play acoustic guitar.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
So
I played tuba in school.
Okay.
But
Well, that don't count. Oh, no.
If I'd have kept it, I could have got a gig with a polka band.
There you go.
That's huge.
I wish
in
I'd
Texas.
gotten Howie D to get me a tuba so we could let you demonstrate.
And he's probably got one, right?
Yeah,
he
I'm sure
does.
he does.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Bill Holt
he's-
has one
He's a
too.
brass
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
polka bands. So then getting off the road with Watson and doing stuff around Houston, Alvin Opry.
Yeah.
I actually, when I appeared on the Alvin Opry a time or two, you were on bass,
Right.
but you had already mainly doing your own music, your own band. So you're doing mainly dance halls?
Right. For the longest time, I didn't want to play dance halls anymore. Got back in church and just didn't feel it was right. But I finally realized if I'm going to make any money playing music, I have to. So I don't have to participate in their lifestyle.
Sure.
I'll go in and play the music.
Yeah. I had
So that's the way I rationalized it.
Yeah, we used to go to a cowboy church, and the preacher there, he grew up, and he was one of the North Side boys from Houston, and he grew up listening to you, Johnny Bush, and all these other things. Well, I had all that music, and I said, dude, Let me tell you what, I'll set you up here if you want to really have some of that. So I put it on a USB drive and gave him all this music that,
Yeah.
that we all grew up with,
Right.
because he was about my age too. So, but I don't, it's just in the, it's the music. It's about the music.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Yeah. But I was, by the time I was playing the Alvin Opry, after I'd left Watson, I was basically had retired from music. I was 42 years old and my wife had a baby. And we just wasn't working a lot with Gene. I mean, we was on the bottom side, when it started going down, and Earl Thomas Conley and Eddie Rabbit and all them guys was popular. And actually now Gene is more popular than he was in his heyday.
Yes.
But anyway, I had a baby to support, and I'd never done nothing but play music. And so I had been a backup driver on the bus. And so handling a big rig wasn't no big deal. So I went ahead and got a trucking license and hired on. And pretty soon I bought my own trucks. So I thought I was out of the music business. And I just played at Alvin Opry just to get my jollies, And then Tracy Pitcox from Heart of Texas Records come along and lured me out of retirement.
Little did you know.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
I'm really glad.
Yeah, really.
So now I got the enthusiasm like I did when I was 19 years old.
I'll tell you what, you sound better than ever, though. I know.
Appreciate it.
I like to listen to YouTube.
Yeah, some of that stuff on YouTube, like was at the Alvin Opry, and we were just winging it. I'd play stuff the band never heard. Just
Some
follow
of
me,
this was over because Trevino was on the playing bass, I believe it was, or something, and I think Amber Digby was on the show as well.
Yeah, that's Heart of Texas.
It may have been a Heart of Texas deal. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Brady, Texas.
So, yep.
They have a big anniversary show
Every year, yeah.
That's probably
last 2 weekends in March.
Yeah.
So you look back longingly. No, not longingly. You look back enjoyably.
Yeah.
But you live in the present enjoyably.
Yeah.
And so
would you say that you're having more fun today than you had back in the 70s?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
No, I was having a big time.
I bet.
I was like a blind dog in a meat house.
I bet. Yeah.
But I wish I'd have been a little more thought about the future. Like when Marty Stewart did that photo album. I mean, from when he was a kid, I worked with everybody in the business, and I got about half a dozen pictures. Ray and Waylon and Grandpa Jones, but I worked with all of them, and I never thought to get a picture.
Right.
Of course, back then your phone didn't.
No,
have a
you had to have a camera
either.
with you,
Right.
otherwise you didn't get that. Yeah, I'm the same way.
I regret that though.
There's a lot of people I met, and we talked about that on one show that we did that I don't have pictures with.
he had a Kodak Brownie camera. Already did back then, and that picture book of his.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the articles that he wrote about.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite.
I have one of them. Yeah,
Me
with
too.
Johnny Cash on the front of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my
Pretty awesome.
favorite books.
Yeah.
So as far as we talked about looking back, and we talked about the here and now. Since next year for me and you both is a pretty significant birthday number. We talked about this on the way up here today. We're going to just keep going as long as the good Lord
That's right.
lets us.
As long as I feel like I can do the job, I don't want to wait for somebody to tell me, man, you need to quit. I want to tell myself that first. I've seen guys that hung on, should have quit.
Yeah. It's easy to deny reality.
It is. Yeah.
I was working a rodeo, and they had out in the rodeo arena, they pulled out a trailer to put the band.
Right.
And they had to help me up on and off the trailer. And that was such a reality check for me.
For sure.
Yeah, but you're still sounding as good as ever, though.
No, not as good as ever.
Well, I don't know. I've known you for 30 years, and I think you're still sounding pretty good.
You lose. Justin Trevino talked to me about this a few years ago, about he's sensing that he's losing a little bit every year.
He is.
And we all do. Yeah, there's But it's like I became friends with Ray Price. I was more friends with some in his band rather than with him, but I got to hang out with him some. And people would say, as they would see Ray in the last years, man, he sounds exactly like he used to.
Right.
No, he did some of those songs back in the 60s, like in the key of B flat.
Yeah.
And when I would go see him, Stafford Center or wherever, he did those same songs in the key of F.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But he was blessed by the fact that he went from having a beautiful soaring tenor to having a rich baritone.
Yeah. And
you do too, my friend.
He still was on pitch too. That's the thing. He sounded so good. I mean, nobody will ever have that quality of voice like he did.
Say just a little bit about the survivors, of which there's 2 survivors left.
Right. That's kind of an interesting story, I think. Daryl McCall, no, Curtis Potter and I was booked on the show, Tracy Pitcock's, which were both his artists, right? So he had me and Curtis and Sammy Smith on this show. Well, Sammy got sick and canceled, so he brought Daryl McCall in to take her place. So there's the 3 of us. And at the end of the night, when we'd all done our things, Tracy said, "Why don't y'all just get out here and just do an impromptu jam session?" So that's what we did. I mean, it was we'd all, of course, are Ray Price freaks. So we did probably 30 minutes of medley of Ray Price, and I'd sing a verse, and then they'd sing a verse, and one of us sing a chorus, and it just went like that, and it was just a magical night. I mean, and I think that's what set the thing off in Tracy's mind is we need to record some of this stuff. So,
and y'all did 2 or 3 recording projects?
We did 2. We was going to do 3, but Curtis passed. But so we all got about 4 songs each, and we'd bring them so that way we knew what we were going to do. So.
Now back, and I'm trying to remember, but did you do a project with Curtis Potter way back there?
No,
or no? Okay.
Daryl did.
Okay, maybe that's what
Daryl
I'm thinking.
and Ray Sanders.
Okay.
Did
maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Then I remember somebody did a project, and I want to say it was in the 80s.
Probably so, yeah.
With Curtis. So
Yeah, I think it was Daryl.
Okay. Yeah.
Reckon Tracy's looking for another old coot. Make it.
I think I don't know.
I told him one time, and him and Justin, that I felt like that was their niche, their forte was recording old artists.
That was his passion, right? He has been in love with this old music. He booked his first show when he was 15 years old, and he booked Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright.
Wow.
I told him I want us to take a road trip to there and get him to do a big show. Because we sometimes do, we're interested in doing people other than artists.
Right.
We want to do club owners. We want to do booking agents.
I mean, that anniversary would be a target-rich environment for sure for people that do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And he rarely gets out there on the edge. He'll have T. Graham Brown once in a while or somebody like that. But that's still good music in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
T. Graham Brown. I love T. Graham.
Yeah. 80s. I'll go with 80s.
Oh yeah.
When the music started to shift, actually, T. Graham Brown was considered one of the early, less rootsy, more modern type of
had a bluesy sound.
artist.
Yeah.
Right. Tell it like it. What he did?
Tell it like it used to be.
Yeah, tell it like it used to be, which was a good song.
Yeah.
Because I remember when it came into the radio station, we were all listening to it. We're going, I don't know. But we had already played some Millsap that was
he's pretty
that
bluesy
that
too.
had got out there, and
Charlie Rich.
Yeah, some Charlie Rich for sure from the 70s. Yeah, that was
Brown.
definitely there. Yeah.
He sounds pretty country by today's standards. There's an old story about that T. Graham Brown went up to Roger Miller and said, "Roger, have you heard my last record?" And that Roger said, "I hope so." But
Well, you heard what this is. We're getting on this Roger Miller thing now. But Roger Miller told he was living somewhere around where little Jimmy Dickens lived at one time there in Nashville, and he was going along there, saw that little Jimmy was out in his yard trying to put a swing set together for his kids. It's been a long time ago, of course. And so Roger stops. He goes, "Say, Jim, what's going on there?" He said, "Well, I'm just having the Dickens here, but." That's a good one. I just have to say that. I said, I'm having the blues putting together this swing set for my kids. And Roger thinks a little bit. Roger looks at him. He said, well, look, I'll tell you what the problem is, man. You're standing too close to it. You're getting feedback. Don't mean anything, but man, I'm going to tell you, that was funny. I laughed pretty hard on that one. So
he was one of my favorites. I went up to him.
Did you have a chance to meet Rog?
Oh, yeah.
I bet you did, yeah.
He was in California.
Yeah, he's come out. When Thumbs Carlisle was playing guitar for him, and me and Thumbs are real close. And Roger would come out, and one time he said he had a suit made out, or pair of boots made out of unborn linoleum. Now that's far out there, you know.
Yeah.
I know. There was some stories. I've heard so many Roger Miller stories. Have you got any good ones, or
No.
some that you can tell? I mean, we don't want to get too.
No,
Not really.
You know, I'll tell you who would be the guy to get for that is Daryl McCall. I
Yes.
mean, they roomed together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If we go to that anniversary show,
Yeah.
You
we'll
got
have to get
Daryl
Daryl.
as the storyteller of all times.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
And he worked with all of them, Ray and
Yeah.
Farron Young, Carl Smith, Hank Jr.
Now, you played with Gene Watson. Who
Yeah.
else did you play
That
with?
was it.
It was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you played with Tony Booth.
Right.
So then
I
Larry
did my
Booth.
own thing.
Good.
well,
That's good stuff.
I don't know how we would find the words, and we're usually pretty gabby, but to express our appreciation.
Yeah,
Tony.
really.
Oh.
I really thank you a whole bunch. I tell you what.
Well, it sounded like a fun
excited.
thing, and I think the world of Jim here. So if I can
he's a good guy.
do something for him, I'm happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Well,
He's a good
bless
guy.
you. We're dear friends.
Yeah. Yeah, you are, aren't you?
But yeah, I had fun. I mean, I knew I would.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming up here.
Absolutely.
My pleasure, Andy.
So tell the people what they can do.
Yes, well, absolutely. If you want to help us out with our podcast, of course, you can donate to the cause. We got a link below. You'll see that when you pull us up on Spotify. Or you can send some, if you'd like to send a comment or whatever, you can do that for The Big Show, andygallo@gmail.com. That's The Big Show, andygallo@gmail.com. And YouTube watchers, subscribe, like, and share. Tony Booth, thank you for being here, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Andy.
it.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, take care. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to The Big Show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
This has been a Unicap Media presentation.